Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Choice Wisdom Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Gail Goodman Lynch.
And I'm your other co-host, Louisa Garrett.
And we are delighted to share that we have another special guest with us today, Cristina Bernardo, who is co-founder of avocadohealth.ai. We are going to be diving into all things parenting today. And
Ooh.
parenting from a perspective of why we don't think we do it well and what to do about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the whole show. And so just by way of introduction, Cristina, if you're okay with this, I want to read just a couple of the comments you made. We always have a little intake form. We ask people questions, hey, how'd you make certain choice, etc. And if you don't mind, I want to read just a couple of your comments before we kick off, and then we're going to get rolling.
Wonderful.
Cool. All right. I had to put my glasses on so I can read this. So, we always ask, what choice did you make and why did you make the choice? And you wrote, I am not sure if I made the choice or the choice found me. But after losing my daughter on November 18th, 2020, at just 10 months and 13 days old, I realized that everything I did thereafter would have to be for greater purpose. And first, I'm so sorry about your daughter.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And you also kind of went on to share, too, that not only in 2020 did you lose the most precious person that any mother can have, you also lost 3 other people close to you in that same year. So it was a really tough year. And you wrote that you'd spent most of your life in this compare and despair mode. And when I read that, I was like, oh, gosh, can we all relate to that? Regardless of our situation, we're all comparing and despairing all the time. And you said it was always about constantly achieving and being very hard on yourself in the process. And that intensified when you became a mom, right? So when I read that, I was like, wow, okay, I'm a mom too. And truer words were never spoken because I've been hard on myself my entire life up until age 34 when I had my daughter, who is almost 19 now, which just blows my mind. And it's just incredible to me how hard we as parents, because my husband's done it too, right? It's not just a woman thing.
Yeah.
We come into parenting kind of feeling like we don't know what the heck we're doing, and we beat ourselves up throughout the whole process. So I'd love to dive in and hear just, your perspective on your backstory. Tell us who you are, how you even got started doing this, and what you're doing to help people stop doing that.
Well, first of all, thank you both so much for having me. I love your podcast, and I'm so grateful to be here today and to share this space with you all. So again, my great thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, thank you for sharing your story with us.
Oh, yes, I love to. I was thinking about it this morning as I was preparing, and I think one of the misconceptions about death, and it's not this way for everyone, and especially about like very traumatic or close death, is that you don't want to talk about it. Right? Like everybody's like, hush, hush, don't bring up their child that they lost. Don't mention their name, don't bring up that their dad just died. Don't just say anything about, their partner that just had a heart attack. We go hush, we go quiet when someone loses someone. And I think, my husband and I talked about this a lot. It's like, it's the opposite for us. Like we love to say Aviva's name. We love when people ask us about Aviva. We love talking about Aviva. So I feel grateful that I can share Aviva with everyone listening and with you all. But yes, so much of our story, actually, I'm the mother of 5. I don't know if I put that in there, but
you did. You said you had 4 other kids too. So
okay, yes, yeah. So I always want to make sure my other kids feel loved too. But even from the get-go, because Aviva was our third, the first child was really hard, and I think I went in with all these expectations about how great a mother I'd be. I'm the baby of 10 kids.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was kind of, I'm the la beba, as it's called in Spanish. I was my whole life, beba, beba, la beba, the baby of the family. And the last of the Mohicans, they often called me. So I kind of grew up raising other children too, right? By the time I was born, actually, my sister already had a son. So my nephew is older than me, which has always been this funny place to be. But so I remember exactly, I was like, 39 weeks pregnant, and I was working for the federal government then. And I said to my coworker, I said, she's like, "Oh, you're about to have a baby. Are you ready?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, like I have 16 nieces and nephews. I got this." And she looked at me and she was like, "Not the same. It's not the same." And I don't think any words have ever been so true, right? It's totally not the same. And it was, it was difficult, really difficult, even with my first. And then I suffered through postpartum anxiety, which I didn't know was a thing because, often, thankfully, we're hearing more and more about postpartum depression. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't have that. But I didn't know what postpartum anxiety was a thing until 3 years into parenting. And my second child, when I said, something's going on, like my thoughts won't stop spinning. And that alone, like we should be able to identify that sooner, which I'm really passionate about. But when I had Aviva, she was our third child and she was born full term, healthy. She was a lovely little child, January 5th, 2020. The year the world literally changed, right? COVID year.
Yeah.
Very
We were so grateful to have her. And then at 9 days old, she got sick. So she woke up from a nap. She'd been sleeping for 3 hours and she didn't want to nurse. And I kind of knew as a third time mom, like, that's weird. Like you could kind of want to nurse all the time when you're a newborn. And then I touched her nose, happened to touch her nose and it was cold. And I was like, oh, your nose is kind of cold. So I took her body temperature and it was low. And honestly, I didn't even know that that was an issue. Like you always hear about like, oh, my child has a 104 fever or 105
Yeah.
fever, like you panic mode. But I didn't know a low body temperature was also very scary. So thankfully, I still had this like workshop sheet from the hospital next to me. And it said like a high temperature is dangerous, but also a low temperature. And so I started getting nervous then. And then very gratefully, my neighbor was an ER doctor. And
Oh,
she was
wow.
an ER doctor,
Yeah.
that worked part-time because she was raising her 3 little kids. So she was home, right? Because even if you know a doctor, like, what are the chances they're around, right? They're so busy,
right.
they work 80,
One next
90-hour
door.
weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, one next door, like, all of this privilege, all of the like, we were so lucky. And so Appa came over and, she took a look at Aviva and she said, like, she actually looks okay to me, but like, I would take her to the ER just to be safe. Right. And so she even called ahead the ER, let him know we were coming. So I just feel like those are so many things that most people don't get. And that's why I
Yeah.
frame it that way. Right. And what I'm
Mm.
trying to understand now. And so, Aviva's still a mystery, believe it or not. She was in the hospital for 5 days. They couldn't figure out anything. They did all of the tests in the world. They had every specialist see her. I mean, literally, the doctor was like, she was so sweet. Oh, they were some of my favorite doctors at that first hospital. But the doctor couldn't have been that much older than me. And she was like, I have a little one. And it's so hard to look at you and tell you that, like, we don't know what's going on. We don't have an answer for you. Like, we're
Yeah.
glad she started to feel better. We're glad she started to feel better, but we don't know what's going on. So just be like kind of hyper alert. And we wish we had an answer for you. So that continued. Like, there were everybody was trying to figure out, everybody had a different theory. Every doctor had a different theory.
Yeah.
And she had 5 more hospitalizations. And on her sixth hospitalization, her heart just went out and they couldn't
Oh,
bring her back. And it remained this mystery because between hospitalizations, she was the happiest, most loving child. She was pure joy, pure
Oh,
joy. So the doctors were so literally the day before we lost her pediatrician saw her and was like, she's doing great. She's standing up on her own. She's hitting off her milestones. Like she was in a great mood. And that's the thing. She would go from like the happiest child to like lethargic and then a low body temperature and low heart rate. So
wow.
kind of where we were left, we actually moved to San Diego because the one thing that they thought it could be was a mitochondrial disorder. And the leading mitochondrial specialist in the whole country is in San Diego.
mm,
So, kind of a long story, but they thought maybe it was the house we were living in. It was a really old house. They thought maybe there was some like chemical exposure or carbon monoxide. So we had to move. So we were moving. And then when we heard about him, we decided, and we had family in San Diego. We said, okay, let's go to San Diego. We didn't actually get to meet with that doctor till 6 months after we lost Aviva because he's so busy. But when we did, I mean, he was wonderful. He took like 2 hours to review her records and he came in and he was like, I know you all want an answer so badly. And I get that. He's like, but I just don't think it's mitochondrial. He's like,
Wow.
it just doesn't line up with all of the other symptoms we're seeing in mitochondrial children." And he's like, and I was pregnant at the time with my 4th, and he was like, "And actually that's a good thing because if it were mitochondrial, like, you would worry about your other kids and this baby, and now you kinda don't have to because we did genetic
Oh, well,
testing and
that's
the
a blessing, yeah.
mitochondrial." So that was a blessing in itself. But he said, if it were me, he was like, I would keep just monitoring all of the latest research on brainstem diseases because your
Mhm.
brainstem here behind, it controls your heart rate, it controls your body temperature, it controls your breathing, which were all things for Aviva that would go awry when she got sick.
Mm.
So we've been kind of monitoring that, just keeping an eye on that. And then the other kind of thing that I've Appa, that same doctor, we were grateful. We lived in Oakland at the time, but Appa just happened to be in San Diego when Aviva passed because her sister lived here. And so she came to see us right away. And, she said, "Christina, I saw Aviva at 9 days old." She said, "Any new parent would have said, 'I'm tired. The baby's tired. I'm going to put the baby back down for a nap.'" She
Yeah.
said, "Aviva would have died in her sleep and they would have called it SIDS." And she's like,
Mm.
"So in my mind, Aviva is just a baby that outlives SIDS." And so that's actually in an odd way given me comfort because I think, well, like we had 10 extra months with her. Like we
Yeah.
could have lost her at
Right.
9 days old. So we
Yeah.
had 10 extra months with her. And w you know, I've known many people who've lost their child to SIDS. It's just one of the hardest things to go through because it's so unexpected. And at least we had a little bit of inkling that something was wrong, right? So we knew something was wrong. We never thought she was gonna die, which was
Yeah.
awful, and I kind of wish a doctor had told us that there was a chance she could die. No one ever mentioned it.
So you could have been more prepared,
Could have
perhaps.
been more prepared, I would have changed
Yeah.
things, like, I went back to work at 3 months. Like,
Mm.
that was
Mhm.
really hard for me after I lost her. I was beating myself up a long time for going back to work so soon. I hadn't planned on it, but COVID hit, and my work I was executive director, and my work was crazy, and they needed me.
And they yeah.
And and so I went back earlier than I had with any child, and, I just would've I had planned all this time off, and so had
Mm.
my husband in December, and we never got it. So, you know, just change things I would have changed, right? But we're here talking about choices and things. And, one thing my therapist always says is like, you think it would be better if you knew, but let's actually think through that. Like, what if you knew? What would you have done differently, right?
Mhm.
And and she's kind of right. We probably would have lived our lives like on full alert all the time, right?
Yeah.
She's like, would you have
Quite
done a
possibly.
road trip to Oregon, right? Would you have traveled? Would you have done like half the things you got to do with Aviva in her life? You may not have done because you were scared she'd get sick, she was going to die.
Right.
So, pluses and minuses with all these things. But it was obviously the hardest thing we've ever been through. It was completely unexpected when we did lose her. And it was just like life shattering. I mean, it was just completely life shattering. It's like no other way to describe it. And I was thankful and grateful that I had my other 2 children, older 2 children to raise because I just, like, had to put on a happy face in some ways, And I had a really wonderful chaplain actually at the hospital when we lost Aviva, and I asked him, like, "Why or how did you get into this work?" And he said, "Because I lost my sister when I was really young." And
Hmm.
he said he was 10, she was 12, and he said, "And my parents did it all wrong."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He was like, "They put all the pictures away of her, they never spoke about her, they wouldn't let me talk about her." They
Wow.
said that his mom went into a room depressed and didn't come out for a year, so gave him, like, no mothering for that
Mm.
year. And so I had mentioned to him, I was like, "I'm just so worried that I'm just gonna fall into deep depression and not be able to parent my other children." And he was like, "Please don't." Like, whatever you can do. He's like, "I don't know how
Yeah.
you feel about medication. I don't know how you feel about therapy, but, like, if you can get the help you need so that you can be a present parent to your other children, like, it's the greatest
Mhm.
gift you can give them because 'cause they're also suffering."
Right.
Yeah,
In
so it was
fact,
one of the best advice I got because I
um,
really was like, I need to prioritize my mental health. I need to prioritize like the needs of my children who are also suffering but can't express it, right? It's just
Yeah.
now that they're 8, 9 that they're starting to be able to express the sadness that they felt because they were only, 2 and 3 years old.
yeah, because when you're little
Um,
like that, you don't have the words and you don't have the
oh
context,
no.
and
Yeah.
the rationality to even understand what you're feeling.
No, you really don't. And
Oh,
and
wow.
So there's a lot to process later, but, through it all, I mean, it took me I took, like, a pretty good year to just grieve. Again, a privilege thing. Not everybody has that opportunity. I wish we did. But to spend time with my new baby, Liliana, and to grieve and read all the books and spend time on myself and kind of, where we landed, Gail, like you mentioned, is I kept thinking to myself, that year was multiple deaths of really close people to me, and it was COVID, right? Everybody was losing someone
And
really
it was
important to
just
them.
weird
Yeah.
a weird time all
Yes.
the way around, right? It
It
wasn't
is, man.
normal in any way. Yeah.
So weird. And, like, because of COVID, like, my husband couldn't be there when Aviva died, like, only one of us could be with her.
Oh,
Oh,
that's right.
So
That's right.
that's
Yeah.
yeah.
thing.
Yes. So that's
Mm,
really hard for him. Like, he dropped me off at the hospital and had to, like, go home and put our other babies down.
mm.
And, like, once I mean, we had a little bit of extra time because they put her on ECMO, but, she was kind of gone by then, and we was just, like, the last hope. So he got to see her then, but he wasn't there, like, when everything was going down, and that was it was hard on me because I was alone, and it was hard on him because he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, COVID was
Okay.
just a crazy time all around, but, I started thinking and realizing, I was just like, "Wow," like, all of these deaths, Viva's death in particular, and my cousin who died of COVID was just reminding me, like, life is so short, right?
Mm.
And, like, so precarious, and we could all die tomorrow, right? Any of us could get in a car accident. We're all in cars or buses, like, we could all die tomorrow. I could die tomorrow, and, like, I've been so mean to myself most of my life.
Oh, yeah, and when you
Right?
realize that the pain is indescribable, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I was just like, "And for what?" Like, if I died tomorrow, would I be like, "Oh, I'm so glad I was so mean to myself my whole life." Like,
You
I'm
would have
so
never
glad.
thought that. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes,
How
I would have
how are
been
you mean to yourself?
Life flashes
like,
before your
"Oh,
eyes,
yeah,
and you're like,
cuss."
"Wow, I'm so glad that I beat the crap out of myself for
Yes.
25 years."
Right. Right?
Baby.
Like, what did you think? Like, I would think, "Gosh, I wish I believed in myself more. I wish I were kinder to myself. I wish I thought that I could do everything that I could achieve. I wish I believed that I was smart. I wish I wish I I I think we would all wish that we were much kinder to ourselves and
Yeah.
more of
So
our
it was
own
a lot of
champions."
negative self-talk.
A lot of negative self-talk, and I didn't even realize it, right? I mean, that's the hard
Mm,
part with negative self-talk is I didn't realize I was doing it,
yeah.
like, until much probably in my early 30s. I did not realize this constant string of, like, "Oh, you're not good enough for that job. Oh, you don't have enough skills. Oh, you're not as smart as that person. Oh, like, you'll never be as pretty as that person. Oh, like, you look terrible in that photo." Or, "Oh, like, I mean, all of the things, like, I mean,
Right.
one of the things I always say is, like, I always wanted to work for the United Nations, but I never thought I was smart enough. I was like, "I don't speak enough languages. I don't this." I didn't even apply. I never even tried because I was like, "I'm not gonna get it."
Yeah,
Right?
you'd
It's like
already made
so
up
and I
your
think
mind.
back. Yes,
Yeah,
there's
that you
so
were
many things I
incapable.
didn't even try for. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a civil rights lawyer and work for helping, immigrants in the United States. That was, like, my dream, but I was just got too scared. I was like, "I can't take the LSAT. I'm gonna flunk it. I can't pay for law
Yeah.
school. I'll be in debt for the rest of my life." Like, all these fears, all these self-limiting beliefs just overtook me, most of my life. And then, yeah, with parenting, then when I became a mom, it was just one more thing I was bad at, right? Like, one more thing I wasn't doing right. And,
Yeah.
like, with social media, like, "Wait, look, she still looks so pretty and perfectly put together, and she's making homemade cookies. Oh, and she's also running her own nonprofit." It's like, how is she doing everything?
Well,
And,
that's what
like,
she's
I can't even
showing
brush
you.
my hair. Exactly. I can't
Right.
even brush my hair in the morning. I'm still amazed when I show up to drop off and these moms are all perfectly put together. I'm like, how do you do it? Like, how? Like, you actually painted your nails? Like, what?
You have
So,
a team of people that follow you around your house
yes.
and, like, do your hair and makeup like you're going on a show. I mean,
Oh,
come on.
and if
How
I
do you
if
do
I
it?
walk into someone's house with little kids and it's clean, I'm just, like, blown away. I'm like, What? How? What are you doing? Like, are you paying someone to come in, like, 3 times a week? Like, what's going on here? Like, I've that's always been my crux is, like, the messy
Truth.
house. That's, like, I still beat myself up about the messy house every day. I'm trying to get
No,
better.
you can have your
Um,
messy house, one day they're all going to go off to college and your house is gonna be
yeah.
sparkling clean, and then you're gonna be,
Oh,
"You hate my clean house."
yes.
Like,
See? This is what we
Mhm.
need to hear, though. We don't hear
Yeah.
that. We
And
don't
then
hear
and then
that unless we have an
also
awesome mom like you.
yeah, and a messy house just means it's lived in. Like,
Right.
there's
Yes.
life in your house.
Otherwise, you're living in a model
Yes.
home.
Yes,
Exactly.
it's
There's
true.
stuff
Well,
happening, activity is going on in the house.
yeah. And when you dig deeper, it gets even more sinister than that, right? Like when you dig into social media, well, in the media back in the day, like when women started working, when birth control was invented and women were in the 70s, were getting more and more jobs and were keeping their jobs and were having less children, there was this huge societal backlash and all the media was trying to push this image of the stay-at-home mom again, right? The
Yeah.
stay-at-home mom, and they were trying to sell us mops and cleaning supplies and like we were only a good woman if we have this like perfectly clean house, right? That's
Mhm.
how we were judged. So when you start to interrogate these messages and figure out where they come from, like this was kind of a movement to make women feel bad about themselves, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Like if I don't
100%.
have that perfectly clean house, then something's wrong with me. I'm not a good woman. I'm not a good mother. I'm not a good partner.
You had to be the
And so
superwoman in the
the
Yeah.
80s.
superwoman,
Be
yes.
I used
full-time
to love
worker,
Yeah.
those.
full-time mom and housekeeper
Yeah.
too. That
Yeah. Mm.
there's only one of you, and how that
Yes.
fallacy ever came about was because the ads were created by men.
And the TV shows. I used to love back
Yes.
in the day, they
Oh,
had the Patty Duke show. What's the one with the Donna Reed show? I loved Donna Reed,
oh,
by the by.
Yeah.
oh.
And Donna Reed had her pearls on, and she was always about and I was thinking, I was like, "None of the people that I know live like this." Great show, but that's exactly what they were promoting, is like, this is the
Oh,
way
yeah.
good.
And that's what we're beating ourselves up for, is not
A
being that
100%.
ideal,
Yep,
Exactly.
yep.
Not being that
accepting
ideal.
it is
Not
what it
being that
is.
ideal. And I remember reading this book kind of changed my life. It's called The Beauty Myth.
Mm.
Unfortunately, the author's kind of been canceled. I think in her later years, she got a little
Oh.
but the book was pretty amazing. The book was pretty amazing, and one thing it was saying was that, another strategy, because she worked in media, she worked for the magazines during these times, so she knew what was going on behind the scenes, like all the conversations, and she was saying, like, when women started really getting power, right? Like they started becoming CEOs and they started becoming executive directors and they started like being on boards and stuff. Then they were like, well, how can we make women feel really bad? And they said, well, like, okay, let's put this image on all the covers of magazines that they'll never be. They'll never be able to be. And let's pick out this
Mhm.
17-year-old white girl with blonde hair and blue eyes who weighs 100 pounds, who has this, quote unquote societal perfect body. Let's put her on every magazine so that all of these women, even if they feel good in their careers, are going to feel terrible about like their body image and their self-esteem. And
Yeah.
I remember reading that and being like, oh my God.
And I fell for it. Oh my
I'm
god.
falling for it. We've all fallen for it. Barbie has taken over the world and we've all fallen for it, right? Like it's just it was mind-blowing to me. And so yeah, I spent a lot of time, even pre-Aviva, I developed this whole workshop series around women's workshops around confidence building. And a lot of it was about this idea of internalized oppression, right? That many
Mhm.
people haven't heard of. I kept looking for a term. I'm like, what is this term? What is going on? What's going on? We're all taking these messages, we're digesting them, and then we're beating ourselves up because of them, right? Like, I'm not
Mhm.
a good enough mom. Like, my house is not clean enough. Like, my kids don't look perfect every day to go to school. All these things. And it's my fault. And so I finally stumbled across the sociological term internalized impression. I don't know if you all have heard of it, but this
No,
Mm-mm.
I haven't.
idea, oh gosh,
Yeah,
you
tell us
gotta go on a
about it.
tangent. Yeah,
I
you gotta research it, go on a tangent because it's mind blowing. But essentially it's this idea that there's all these oppressive messages out there, right? And especially if you look back through history, I mean, most of messaging in society has been driven largely by like white men and older white men trying to tell the younger generations what to do and how to act and how to behave. So the more marginalized identities you have, the more complex and difficult it becomes because there's so many messages saying like, you're not this, you're not that, you're not that. If you're not that, what they are essentially. But essentially, we all know there's so many oppressive messages. I mean, gosh, I live in San Diego. Every billboard is these 17-year-old girls in string bikinis, like, and just making women feel like they're not good enough, right? They're not that. I'm not that. I'll never be that. I'm not good enough. Like that's what society wants, and I'm never going to be that. And messages are everywhere. I mean, telling you from the moment you get up to the moment you go to sleep that you're not enough. Like, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not rich enough, you're not clean enough, your kids aren't perfect enough, your kids aren't getting good enough grades, all the things. Um,
And
and
we
what
often, I
happens
think, say, okay, our kids are seeing all of that, and that's what's
Yeah.
messing kids up. But honestly, as you're talking, it's kind of dawned on me recently too. It's like our kids are actually a mirror of us. So if we actually are the ones that believe it, we're installing it in them, and then the
Oh,
situation
yes.
perpetuates itself, right? I
Oh,
mean, if
yes.
we can
Yes.
de-internalize the suppression and really be okay with ourselves, then that's how we model for our kids the behavior of this is how you show up in the world better because you're already okay with who you are just as you are. And
Yes.
if they
So
see all that
true.
negative stuff, then they're not going to believe it because
Yeah.
they don't feel that coming from you at all. It's like, no, you're good where you're at, you know?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
love
And
that you're doing that with your app too. So Avocado Health,
yes.
you definitely need to you
Yes.
kind of tell us what the story of that is. But it's like
Yes.
looking at your website, I'm thinking to myself, okay, when all the weird stuff happens in parenting, it's like, I don't know, 12:30 at night or something. And it's like, you're not going to call your therapist in the middle of the night and ask questions. So it's like, but I can sneak and look at my phone and scroll a
Yeah.
little over here and
Yeah.
maybe get an answer or some support or, you know what? It's okay. You're going to be fine. you know,
Yes.
just hang in there.
Totally.
Get through this.
Totally. And that's like that's where, all of this kind of comes together. Was I was working and I was coaching women and women leaders, most and many of whom were mothers, and many of whom were balancing all of these things as I was, the mom guilt, the
Oh,
perfection, all
yeah.
of that. Mom guilt's a whole nother thing. And I was saying like, oh, my husband was also very passionate about the parenting space. And from the get-go, we're both entrepreneurial minded. We were like, how do we make parenting better? How do we make it easier? And with the new, all the new technology that's out there, we're like, let's put like a parent coach in people's pockets. Let's give them, literally, you can text any question that you have about parenting, and text, because look, parents are busy. Texting is the
They're
easiest,
not gonna
most
go to a
efficient form of
website.
communication.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe
And
an
even
app,
apps. But
but
sometimes
apps
it's like
are
people
challenging.
the the research shows, like, unless you're the top 2 apps in the world, like, the chances that you'll get a parent to download an app, like, the second you ask them to download, you lose 70% of parents. And then the chances that they'll go back to the app are, like, so low. It's very hard to drive engagement with the app. Even, like, the best app, Dr. Becky, a lot of my friends downloaded Dr. Becky, they're like, "I never use it." Right? So, we were like, "We gotta meet parents where they're at," which is in
Yeah.
their texting, like, right? Like, 97% of text messages get read in the first 15 minutes. You
Yeah.
may not respond, but you're gonna read it.
But you're gonna
And
see
so
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it. And even our school, our elementary school has an app that they use, and no one was interacting with it. So now they've just started texting us. They're like, "Oh, reminder,
Right.
there's no school tomorrow. Oh, like, gymnast, you need to pay this for gymnastics or whatever, or for gym class." So we realized, and that's my husband and I work in the pediatric space for years, and they had an app, award-winning app, and that's what I would literally just tell him. I'm like, "Can you just text me? If you texted me an activity to do with my 2-year-old, like, I will do it. But if you're asking me to log onto an app, find an
Yeah.
activity to do with my 2-year-old, rate the activity, post a picture, like, never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. Like, I'm just so
Nope.
busy.
I'm
I'm
listening
never
to
gonna
you
get
say
there.
that, I'm like, "Yep,
Yeah.
no."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, no. And so that was like the big aha moment for us both. We're like, what if we pivot and make this more text-based, where you're getting all of the best information from all only the evidence-based information out there, right? You're only getting the American Academy of Pediatrics, Childmind Institute, Mayo Clinic. You're only getting the best stuff. You're not getting parenting blogs from Australia. You're not getting a
Yeah.
Reddit, debate about whether or not formula is the worst thing in the world for your baby or the best thing in the world.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
we've all seen that too.
we've all seen that. And the sleep training, oh goodness. Don't mention sleep training. Everybody has their own perspective on that.
Yeah.
So, so there's just so much judgment out there in parenting and so much comparison. And we said, like, let's just get through all that and essentially go like where your pediatrician would send you, where your speech therapist would send you, where your psychologist would send you if you were asking these questions, like what resources they would share. So essentially, we built our own small language model, like a database essentially of 20,000 resources that have been hand selected by our team of clinicians, and it only pulls from that when it's pulling an answer. And it's AI and human, so it kind of mimics the empathy and the understanding, and then it knows your children. Once you input your children and your zip code, it knows their children, the ages, so they're able to make recommendations based on your children's ages.
Mm.
And a big thing for me is that it flags right away if the first thing we do is emergency or non-emergency. And so it flags right
Ah,
away that this is an emergency, right? Because how many
okay.
times have you had a fever and you were just scrolling and scrolling on Google and you're trying to figure out, but like, emergency, go or not go? Go. I
Yeah,
can't
right.
decide based on the evidence. Like, oh, I was doing this, but not this. But
Was it
this will tell you, like,
104 or is it when it hit
yeah,
105 that you gotta run to the
yeah,
ER? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And you're like, oh, which one? Right. But this will tell you, like, if you inputted that, like 104, and they know your kid's age, like 6 months, 104, that's going to tell you go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Like when
I
you're like
think,
4, sometimes it's like,
yeah,
sometimes
yes.
fevers and it goes up another degree, you gotta go to the hospital. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So,
Okay.
like, that's one thing I'm really excited about. And going back to my story of Aviva, it was like, you know, I'm not naive. I know avocado health AI wouldn't have saved Aviva.
Yeah.
Her case was so rare, so unique. But I take so much comfort in the fact that when she was 9 days old and her temperature was low and she wasn't able to nurse and her nose was cold. If you texted any of those things, avocado health, like my baby, my 9-day-old baby, well, no, it's 9 days old, but, has a temperature of 95.8. The first thing it would say is, this is an emergency, go to the ER and call your pediatrician right away.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so I'm like, so maybe it wouldn't have
You get
saved
the
Aviva, but
validation
other
that
parents.
I'm not just
Yes.
freaking out and I'm
Amazing.
not
Yes.
reacting, I really do need to go to the ER. That
Yeah.
trust
Yes.
thing, like, you
Yes.
know you need to do it, but
Yes.
or like you did,
Yes.
you already knew,
Yes.
but
Yes. Well,
then we
other
second guess
parents.
ourselves because we're not
We
kind to
do.
ourselves, we think we're stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And then if you're brown or black and people, we're showing that the systems aren't believing you, you have this proof, right? That
Right.
Avocado Health said that this symptom is dangerous and I need to go to the hospital. And if you're in
Yeah.
the hospital and the doctors aren't listening, you can keep asking Avocado Health. Like, I've tested out a lot of the postpartum symptoms that often lead to maternal mortality. I have blurred vision. Go to the ER. I have a headache after I just delivered a baby. You need to go. This is seriously dangerous. Go to the ER. I have, my legs are swelling after having a baby. Go to the ER. This is dangerous. So you have all of that data to show every single time this thing is telling me go to the ER. This is
Yeah, it's like the
serious.
Mayo Clinic says this is a problem
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Jones,
Yeah.
please take it seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's one thing I'm excited about is that ER. And I think
that's
that
awesome.
a lot of the time is, if you have a partner, sometimes like you disagree with your partner. Like, my husband and I were like,
That
I was like,
happens
oh,
never.
yeah.
Time.
About whether or not to go, but this is kind of a third party that's
Yeah.
telling you emergency, not emergency. And then similarly, if you don't have a partner, it's like another, like, a trusted figure, adult voice saying like, this is an emergency or this is
Yeah.
not. Like, often sometimes, like, it happened to me recently when we were skiing with our daughter. Like, she had a fever. It'd been 48 hours. I was really starting to freak out. The medicine wasn't working. Like, I had given it to Tylenol to her, and 20 minutes later, she was still hot. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was told my husband, I'm like, we got to go to the ER, dude. Like, it's not going down. I don't know what to do. And he kind of like rolled his eyes. I was like, cause I'm always the anxious one, like, go. And he was like, really? You think we do? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, let's just ask Avo. And so I did. And what was great is like what I really needed to know, which was information I didn't need to know, was that it can take the medicine an hour to kick in. And that's what
Yeah.
it
Give
said,
it
like,
one
based
more
on her
hour.
age and her body temperature, give it a little more time, like, and look for these other things. And so I waited another 20 minutes and it broke. Like, her fever broke. She was cold. She was
Uh,
cool. I could sleep. She could sleep. And the next morning she was perfectly fine.
oh,
Wow.
So
wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, like, saved us a middle of the night ER thing with other
Which is
kids
a
at
minimum of
home.
4 hours of your life.
Yeah,
You
yes.
know this.
Exhaustion, feeling
Yeah.
terrible the next day, all the things.
Mhm.
So
I
it can
love how
also
he
prevent.
Trip. Yeah.
I love how he was like, ask Avo. Come on. We have
Yeah.
Avo.
We
You know what
told.
we're doing
We
right
built
now.
this for a reason. We built this for a reason. Come
Like
on.
we
Yeah.
have this in our pocket. Text him and ask him.
Literally, takes it. Yeah. And like, that's what I needed to hear, was that exact advice that I didn't know it could take an hour. Right. And so we would have probably, by the time we got to the ER, her fever would
It
have
would have
broken. And I
broken,
would have been
and then
like,
you'd
Yeah.
I did that
yeah.
so many
Oh,
times. I'm like,
so many times. Right. And it's like,
ER, and we're like, oh,
yeah.
she's fine. We're going back. Yeah.
Yeah. And they say like 40% of hospitalization visits are preventable. For ER
Yeah.
visits for kids are
Well,
preventable.
and that's such an interesting idea because here we are
Mhm.
with baby boomers, right? And they're
Yeah.
all going to the hospital constantly because they're elderly
Yeah.
and they need help. And then we
Yeah.
got little babies and little kids that are constantly going to ER because
Yeah.
the parents think they need help. And
Yeah.
the ERs are overflowing. And we're always talking about, okay, outcomes and, how do we reduce the load on the system? This is
Mhm.
huge because if you can tell the
Yes.
parent, okay, maybe give it another hour
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
go, then we could
Yeah.
probably prevent 40% of those overflow, situations.
Yeah, my sister
Definitely.
works in the ER. She's an intake. She does the intake,
Yeah.
and literally one of the questions is, "Well, have you tried blah 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 before you go to the
Mm.
ER?"
That's
Mm.
And the parents are like, "No, no, we just came straight here." And
Yeah.
she gets frustrated because,
Oh,
there
yeah.
are emergencies and they're
Yeah.
so overcrowded, as we just said.
Yeah.
But then there are, like, severe cases that have to wait a little bit because of all of the people who could have just waited another 20, 30 minutes for the medical to
to
kick
make
in.
sure that the fever broke.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Exactly.
so
And then imagine your hours from your hospital. Imagine you live in rural
Mhm.
America and you're 2
oh,
or 3 hours from
yeah,
the hospital. You made that drive when you could have stayed home, you know? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's what I'm really excited about. I mean, that's what like the hospital, the health plans, they love that part of it, right? That we're able to kind of be that first triage. And like, yes, I think in an ideal world, you call and often it will tell you call your pediatrician or you call your
And most of
pediatrician or
those
you call
people
the
that
nurse.
don't
But we've
come.
also but,
Yeah.
like, in that case, we had called the nurse. It took her, like, 45 minutes to call us back. I mean, it's like, by that
Right,
time,
'cause
it's
she had
like
100 other patients
Yeah,
calling, yeah.
right, and it's the middle of the night or whatever, so it's like, by the time you get and she gave us the same advice that Ava gave us, so it's like, how do we, in the moment, give the parents the advice that they need to give them the confidence that they're making the right decision, right? Like,
yeah,
and I think that's what it comes down to is all of this self-doubt. It makes you, like, not confident in your own abilities as a parent, even though I think deep down we really know, like, this is a total emergency, and sometimes you just need to go because for your mental health, you need to
yeah,
go. But, it's also like we're not confident in our ability to make the right decision. So that's what we're trying to help parents, like, feel more confident, and right, we're talking about the, like, really scary stuff, but sometimes it's just like, "My kids are screaming that they're too tired to go to bed they're too scared to go to bed. What do I do?" You
Right,
know?
yeah, yeah, how do I
Yeah,
instill
yeah.
confidence in my child to go to sleep tonight, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
answer.
exactly. Sometimes the little
Yeah,
things are like, I'm on a plane, I can't entertain my kid, what do I do? Or like, you can ask it anything, right?
I love that.
Like my partner and I are
yeah.
fighting like crazy after having a baby. True story. Like, is that normal? And like, what do we do? Right?
How do we
So,
how do we break the impasse when we're, like, ready to kill one another? Yeah, my husband and I used to argue about who we would fight over who got to go to
oh
Target to buy
yeah,
diapers.
yes,
In the
yes.
house, and he's like, "No, you went last time. No, I went you went last time." Yeah, I remember
Oh
having this
yeah. We would
and
fight
look at
Isn't
about
that
who gets to cook, who gets to cook. I'd be like, no, it's my
yeah.
turn to cook. You take care of I'm not cooking.
"You go play with the kids, I'm gonna go."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
I
that
need a
it's not
break.
just, like, life and death situations, it's literally
Yeah.
anything. You could ask
Yeah.
it's like a it's
It's
a
life
it's a
situations.
it's life
Yeah, it's life
situations, it's
situations.
parenting
Yes.
situations, it's partner
Yes.
situations. Yeah, I
Yes.
love that.
Yes. And then the other thing I'm really excited about and why I brought it up is it kind of infers the question behind the question. So let's say
Yeah,
like you say, my child's almost 1 and she's not walking yet. Like, should I be concerned? It realized like you're concerned about a walking delay or like any developmental delays. So it will give you your answer. Then it will give you 2 additional resources if you want to learn more. And so you know where it's coming from. And then it will immediately flag based on your zip code. It will say, well, here are the early childhood intervention centers in your area if you want to give them a call. And that's really important because if you find a developmental delay before 3, the resources are free. Like the
mhm,
federal government
Yeah.
will pay for you to get the resources you need. If you don't find out till 4 or 5, it's on you.
Yes, and
In
it's
most states,
expensive.
it's on you, and it's extremely expensive. And
Yeah,
obviously, and besides the money, it's the earlier you can identify a delay and get support, the better the
yeah,
children
yeah,
often flourish. So it's helping
yep,
parents. And like, I didn't know early childhood intervention centers existed, right? So it's putting them literally, and you just call from right there. Or similar to what I said, if you're like saying, I just had a baby and I'm feeling really anxious, or I'm really feeling really sad, it will flag that, be like, oh, maybe something's going on postpartum, and it will say, if you need support based on your zip code, like, here are the behavioral health specialists in your area.
Mm.
And then you can just call
Absolutely.
right away. Because for me, even from when I identified that I had postpartum anxiety, it was about 5 months before I I was so stressed that I was able to find a therapist. And we're
Well,
actually what
that's
I'm
the
really
thing.
excited
Trying
about.
to
Yeah,
find
it takes
somebody
time.
is
Yeah,
hard.
hard.
It
It's hard. And then that feels overwhelming. So you stop, right? So here it's like the
so
phone
now you're
number's
already
right there.
anxious, then you're
Yeah.
overwhelmed, and then you're like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Forget
forget
it. I'm
I'll
done.
figure
I'm
it
done.
out. Yeah,
And
and
so
then
I'm
you're
really excited. We're
not
we're
going to
working on a partnership to be able with another startup to be able to offer 12 free therapy sessions with training therapists
Oh,
for those who can't afford it or don't have insurance. And then also other partnerships with like low cost therapy. So that will be embedded as well. So I'm just hopeful. And there's, we give them the postpartum support international line. Like, again, something I never knew existed. You could call this
you
hotline
didn't know that.
24/7. Yeah.
What?
There's all these
Right.
support groups for everything. So we're just flagging all these resources. And now we're working now with our therapists, in-house therapists to send out messages for every week you're pregnant, like reminders, support, things to keep in
Oh,
mind.
that's
Uh,
huge.
That's huge. Yeah.
yes. And then
And, like,
every week for
legitimate
delivery
advice,
too.
not the crazy
Yeah.
people at the grocery
Oh.
store that tell you what they think you should
No, 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 no. And like things to look out for, like, hey, these are signs of preeclampsia. Like if you're
That's
experiencing A, B, and
huge.
C, right?
Mhm.
And then because they give you these forms at the doctor, you don't read them, you lose them, you forget. And so and then
If you
and
have
then
baby
again,
brain,
postpartum a message, baby brain, so real. A
it's a thing.
postpartum messages too, like 1 week after delivery, all throughout the first few years, so that you can flag this stuff, right? Like I was just at a conference for maternal health and maternal mortality, and it was saying like you leave the hospital and they're like good luck. Right,
That's
like you
kinda
have
how it is.
all this
Um,
help,
good luck.
and then they don't see you again till 6 weeks. What about those 6 weeks are the hardest 6 weeks of parenting, and nobody is there.
Not a
Nobody's there
soul.
to help you.
No.
Not a meeting. It's just like we leave people with nothing. And like everyone always says, I had no user manual. I had no user manual. And like that's what we're trying to build. Like, here's your user manual. Like
I
just keep
love
asking. And if we don't answer, you can have a one-on-one with somebody and get the answer you need. But those are just the hardest weeks. And we need to do better to support moms in that time and to flag things like, okay, you have blurred vision, you have a headache, you have swelling, go to the
yeah.
hospital.
Well, and taking
Like
care of the
those are
mama. Yeah, I
dangerous.
know because
Yes.
pediatricians are I remember seeing the PD, like,
Yeah.
one day after my
Yeah.
daughter was born or whatever,
Oh,
and she
right. Yeah. Yeah.
the baby, she didn't ask me anything
Yeah.
about me. I mean,
Oh,
it's to her, but that's her job is babies.
yeah,
Grown
exactly. And we're getting a little better about that. Like they will give you a test and stuff, but not everybody's figured that out yet, right? Like because
yeah.
you should be taking care of mom, everyone, caregivers and baby at the same time.
Well, back to your original point, it's like how parents are functioning is how children ultimately function. I mean, at the
Yes.
end of the day, and if you are an
Yes.
anxious hot mess, you are
Yeah.
not feeling
Yeah.
well, you've got issues, and you don't have any confidence in yourself, you cannot expect your children to have it too, because they literally you might look at them and say, it irritates me when my kid does this. But if you think
Yeah.
about it, you do that all the time because that kid
Oh
is just
yeah.
mimicking your
Oh my
behavior.
gosh.
And
I
when you
remember when
realize it, kind of humbling. And then it's like, I need to
oh
stop
yeah.
doing that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
when my son got to kindergarten in our first session meeting up, and he was our eldest, they were like, "Well, and he has this problem when he gets frustrated, he yells at people. Do you guys know anything about that?" My husband and I were like, "No, no, no idea where that one comes
not
from."
not
Like
an He
we
yells
never
at
yell at
people.
each other when we're frustrated. Never, never.
Never,
But like
ever happens.
yeah, like we were totally doing that, and he was totally we were yelling at each other, and he was mimicking it, right?
Yeah, he
So,
just that's how he thought the
yeah.
world worked. I mean, he didn't know any better.
Exactly. Yeah. So we
Yeah.
like both committed in that moment. We're like, we're not yelling. Like we're gonna step
Yeah.
outside. We're gonna like
Yeah.
cool down. We're gonna like do the tap off if we're too stressed. And of course we still do, right? Like nobody's perfect, but it
Nobody's
was just like
Right.
it was
Right.
a rude awakening of like, oh
80% of
whoa,
the time you're getting
whoops.
it,
Yes.
it'll
Yeah.
be better for sure. Well, and
Yes.
do you feel more confident now? Because when you wrote in your little bio, it's like, "I used to be so mean to myself. I had this evil voice in my head that talked all the time." I mean, how do you feel having created this and now you use it
Oh yeah, all the
as a
time.
parent?
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I feel like and tying it back to Aviva, it I shortly after losing Aviva, I just felt like I kept hearing her voice in my head. I still
Mhm.
think it's her voice, and just being that reassuring, loving voice, being like, "It's okay, mom. Like, there's nothing you could have done," right? The what ifs, the whys,
Oh,
they'll destroy you after
they
you lose
will
somebody. What
destroy
if
you.
we had gone to the hospital sooner? What if we had talked to your pediatrician? What if like this? All the things. They'll destroy you if you let them. And I've seen it, right? We go to all these child loss meetings and you'll meet a mom 20 years later who's still like, if that nurse hadn't given my son that medication, he'd still be
Yeah.
here. And like the anger, the frustration.
Oh,
And it's like we're letting it control us, right? So it's so hard. The what ifs and the whys are so, so hard. But you know, I would hear her voice being like, "It's okay, mom. Like, taking me to the hospital sooner wouldn't have done anything," or like this, that. I hear this kind of nurturing, kind, loving voice. And I think that really helped me. And I even developed a tool around it. This whole idea, and I just wrote a piece about it. It's like this idea of even if it's not Aviva, even if you don't have a loved one on the other side that is giving you comforting messages, or maybe you're religious and you feel like you're hearing a voice. Um, we all have the ability to mother ourselves.
we
Yeah.
do.
Right. And even if we didn't have the perfect mom like mine, my mom wasn't really involved. I was raised by my dad. Even if you don't
Me
have the
too.
perfect mom, we know how we treat our children. And if you don't have children, I mean, you know how you treat your nieces or nephews, or you know how you treat that younger person at work when they make a mistake.
Yeah,
Right. So I always say, like, now I'm like in those moments, I'm like, I just try to like mother myself, like, okay, like what would I say to my daughter? Right. Like,
I do that, yeah.
yeah, I accidentally and, invited someone to a party and now the host is upset at me. I shouldn't have invited them. And I'm like beating myself up. And then I'm just like, okay, it's okay. Like you were trying to make everyone feel welcome. Like you made a mistake. We
Yeah.
all make mistakes. Next time
Yep,
you'll make sure that the host knows that your friend is coming to the party, and just like taking a breath and literally hugging myself, giving myself. But we all have that ability, and so I try to, especially with moms, it's like we could be so loving and kind to our child when they make a mistake, when they get a bad grade at school, when they get in trouble. We're like, can be so loving and empathetic and kind. But then when we make a mistake or
ugh,
Yeah.
we get in trouble, it's just like, that constant like beating, putting on the gloves, beating ourselves up. And so that's a question I also coach. And so you get one-on-one coaching when you sign up with me or another parent coach. And then I coach women leaders, and I often tell them, like in those moments, I'm like, let's just pause. Like you're telling me some situation where you're really beating yourself up. Let's pause. And I'm like, just imagine that like your daughter in 10 years came to you with the same thing.
Mm.
Like that
mhm.
I messed up that presentation and I didn't get the funding for my business. And if I had done this and I have done that, like, what would you say to your daughter? If 10 years from now she comes to you and they're like, "Oh gosh," inevitably, I'd be like, "It's okay. Like, there'll be other opportunities. It was a learning moment.
Yeah.
Like, next time you'll get that funding." And like, maybe that
Yeah.
person is just not a kind human, like
Yeah, maybe there's a reason you didn't get that funding because it
Yeah,
wasn't the
yeah.
right
Yeah.
partnership, it wasn't
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
You needed to let it
Yes.
incubate a little bit more, you needed to see it from a
Right.
different perspective, then you're
Yeah.
gonna maybe get 10 times more money than you asked for. I mean, imagine,
Exactly.
maybe
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think out of every situation, only good comes, and
Yes,
How
believing
yes.
that is
how
hard
do
sometimes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
How do
yeah.
people get connected with avocado health? Like, is it in
Yeah.
hospitals or,
Oh,
um,
great
how do they
question.
find you?
Yeah. So, I mean, anybody can go to avocadohealth.ai and get a free day 7 trial, try it out for yourself. But what I'm really most excited about and what really moves me is even outside of Avocado Health, my husband and I have helped run a nonprofit for the last 11 years. So I'm really passionate about the kind of nonprofit and parent advocacy space. So what we've been doing is we've been actually partnering with nonprofits and parent advocacy orgs,
Yeah.
and essentially that work with families. So we're partnering with the biggest nonprofit in Hawaii, and they serve over 5,000 families. And essentially, what they're doing is they're white labeling us. So it will look like they're texting that nonprofit that they know, they trust, but it's
Oh,
powered by Avocado Health.
Got
And
it.
in that way, like we get
that's smart.
parents to believe and trust, and then we digest all of their preferred local resources. If they want to speak to a human, we connect them to that organization.
Mm,
So I'm really excited about those kind of partnerships, and we're having lots more calls like that, talking to organizations across the U.S. And now especially tribal nations, talking to organizations in rural America, saying, how do we get this into the hands with your trusted branding and your trusted knowledge as well, right?
Yeah, so
That's
Um,
amazing.
smart.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
we're bringing in the AI and the tech innovation. So that's the major way we're getting into the hands of families is through these really trusted, really reputable parent advocacy orgs and nonprofits that are serving, hundreds, sometimes thousands of families.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's
amazing.
incredible. I love
Yeah.
that
So
idea. Yeah,
That
and
is.
it's all about trust, and
yeah.
I've done brand for 26 years, and it's like the
Mm.
thing with a startup is just people knowing who the heck you are, what it is you do, and
Yes.
believing in you.
Oh,
White
yes.
label idea, I think, is always really smart, especially for tech, because you're
Mhm.
just
Yes.
basically filling the need by
Yeah.
providing them the service to get it to their clients, and I think
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
love it. Oh
Yes. Oh, thank you
my
so
I
god, we
much.
could
know.
Thank you
talk
so
about
much.
this for
I
fucking
know.
days.
Well,
Oh, man.
before
We say this
we
every
wrap it
time
all
Louisa
up.
and I interview somebody, we're like, "Okay, we have to have you back."
I
Like,
know, I
Oh,
know.
I'd love
there's
to.
more we
Yeah,
gotta
100%. But I
so
don't
this has been
believe
marvelous.
in coincidences. I believe
Yeah.
that everything happens for a reason, and I know sometimes that's
Mm.
here
Yeah.
when there's loss involved,
Yeah.
but if the life of Aviva, everything that you went through, everything, from the
Mhm.
9 days, from
Yeah.
your, neighbor being an ER doctor, from all of the 10 months 10 months and 13 days that you had with her, if that had not happened, then you would
Mm.
not be doing what you're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you are helping so many parents who
Oh,
don't know because as you say, I'm not a parent.
yeah.
I do have 31 nieces and nephews. I know it's not
There
the
you
same.
go.
It's
No,
all
but
I know it's not
you
the
know how to
same.
talk to your nieces. You know how to talk to your nieces. You can talk to
Yeah.
yourself, but you can talk to them.
But you're allowing them to have the confidence to parent better, and that's amazing.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I commend you for that.
Oh,
I'm
thank
sending you
you.
so much love, so much light.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
and yeah, and I might start crying because 'cause I'm very emotional.
I know,
Oh, I am
same.
too.
I'm
I am
already
Yeah,
tearing
too.
up over
yeah,
here.
Tears are a
but it's
blessing.
like
Tears are a blessing.
what you're
Yeah.
doing is amazing, and Aviva
Mm.
is the reason this is happening. So,
Thank
avocado
you.
health is powered by Aviva.
Yes,
Yeah.
I definitely think so. I definitely, and I'll say one thing about the everything happens for a reason. I will say that that was a hard thing to hear after losing a
Mm,
visa, and I actually wrote a piece about it. Maybe I'll send it to you. But
I
I
think it's
thought about it a lot, and what I said, I changed it to everything happens. Period. And you have to find a reason to keep living.
oh, I love that. I
mm,
Right?
love that.
hard like
Yes,
that.
yes, and I
That
think it's
kinda
just
hard.
you're finding there's learning for all but some things are just terrible and they shouldn't happen
Yeah,
and they should
yeah,
have never happened, but
right.
they happen. So when they happen, how do we find that reason to keep living, that reason to how to honor that person, how to honor that loss? So that's kind of how we changed it. Was everything happens and you have to find a reason to
I
keep
love that.
living.
I love that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
beautiful.
Uh,
Beautiful.
Thank you. So
Well,
wonderful
perfect.
being with you both.
It was so wonderful having you here. Oh
Thank
my gosh. I love what
you.
you're doing. Can't wait to keep watching what you're doing because
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Amazing. I so appreciate my time with
Yay.
you all today, and I wish you all the best, and I will continue to be an avid listener. So thank you for all you're doing
Aw,
too.
wonderful.
thank you so much. All right,
Yeah.
we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Choice Wisdom Podcast. The opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the owners or producers of this podcast. The information shared on this podcast is intended to inspire you, but it is not presented as financial, legal, or medical advice. Choice Wisdom is edited by the amazing marketing team at It's a Good Sign, our sponsor located in Dallas, Texas. Copyright 2026, all rights reserved. For more information, please visit choicewisdompodcast.com.